Hello there. Welcome to the show.
I'm not sure.
We're reviewing the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series starring Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, and Moses Ingram. Last episode was on Wednesday, and the synopsis of the show is Obi-Wan is in exile on Tatooine, and he is watching over Luke.
Is it exile or hiding?
They say exile, and I try to stick to the terms that they use in the actual films, and when Yoda says at the end of Revenge of the Sith, he says, "Into exile I must go," and that's the way I think of it. At any rate, he's a hermit on Tatooine, getting ready to age about 15 years or 20 years in 10 years, and he just aged 20 years in 10 years inside the universe. Although he looks great for a guy his age.
Man, Ewan McGregor has really held his age well, hasn't he? One of those guys.
Yeah,
really
and that's why, and we'll get to it, but like the episode where they do the flashback, like I almost get why they didn't do the de-aging thing, but it didn't really work for me. At any rate,
wow, you weren't supposed to start with the negative stuff.
like I said, I have some criticisms. Apparently, we're critics.
Well,
so.
real quick, I would like to say that I really consider this to be very much alternate universe so much at this point.
Okay, yeah.
Especially with the way that things turned out at the end of the episode and the last episode. It was very much so.
Well, I look at Star Wars the same way I look at like comic books, which is, it's kind of choose your own canon.
You can do that now. Yeah,
there's
you can
enough
do that now. Yeah.
Material. There's enough content out there that if you want to ignore certain stuff, if you want to consider certain stuff canon, that's fine to me. Like like I said,
you ignore Jar Jar Binks and young Anakin in the first episode.
Yeah,
and you're pretty much good to go on that episode.
So, and that's actually the first point I want to make is the opening of this series. And this isn't a spoiler because it's literally just like the first 3 minutes of the Obi-Wan Kenobi pilot episode is a recap of the prequels, and it's about 3 or 4 minutes long, and it's like they do a better job of the more concise job of telling the story of the prequels in 4 minutes than George Lucas did in 9 hours of fucking film. I was like shit, I don't have to show Emmy any of the prequels. I can literally just let her watch this opening scene and she'll like understand what's going on with Darth Vader.
That's fair, but you can't miss the Duel of the Fates.
That's true.
The pod racing scene is phenomenal, other than Anakin.
I agree. I agree. I think that there's a lot of good stuff in the prequels. I just think they were
the first one
too long. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I watched.
Darth Maul was so great.
I did end up watching one of the fan edits. It's where they take the it was Rise of the Empire, and they basically take all 3 of the prequels and they condense them down to like 1 2.5 hour movie, and it's totally great. Like I was like,
phenomenal.
It was great. I was like, man, they could have done all this in like an hour and a half. But also I was trying to catch her up on, because I'm a original trilogy guy. So
you got to send me that link. I want to see.
Oh,
that.
I'll send it to you. Yeah,
totally. I watched the edit that had Jar Jar completely cut out of it and young Anakin completely cut out.
Oh,
of it.
well, that was the thing. Is like the opening is what they did to the Phantom Menace. Is it's basically just Duel of the Fates and the setup for that. Like they
that's it.
Anakin's just there. They already have Anakin. They skip the whole. I mean, they show you the pod race.
Okay, good. Okay.
But it's very much trailer style. Like all of Phantom Menace only occupies about 15 or 20 minutes of the total cut, and the rest of it is just stuff from Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and it's fairly concise. At any rate, the opening was good because it establishes what the situation is.
I want a Clone Wars series with Hayden Christensen really bad.
Well, and that's the thing about this is I feel that it was a big missed opportunity in that, you got Hayden Christensen back. You got...
That was to see if the fans would react well.
Well,
and they did.
It was to bring in the fans of and again, like I'm an original trilogy guy. I grew up with the original trilogy.
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie of all time. And don't get me wrong, even that's got a couple of plot holes.
I was wearing that shirt during our last review.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Yeah. Didn't want to double up on that.
But there's a lot of kids who grew up with the prequels. And to be perfectly honest, it's like, that's actually partially my demographic. Those are the Star Wars movies that came out when I was a kid. I went to see The Phantom Menace, and I went to see Attack of the Clones, and I went to see Revenge of the Sith when I was a kid. I was like a little older than a lot of these kids who swear up and down by the prequels. However, I did eventually come around to the Clone Wars series, and
that's quality.
It starts pretty rough, but it eventually gets really, really good.
As soon as Jar Jar left that series, it got better.
Well, they deliberately avoided him. They would give him an episode every once in a while. Well, the whole first season, everybody's basically
really
Jar Jar.
choppy. It's pretty bad.
Ahsoka, as good of a character as she turned out to be eventually, is just the most obnoxious character in the premiere. That's how much I really am a part of the prequel generation, despite preferring the original trilogies. I went to see the Clone Wars movie when it came out in theaters, and was pretty disappointed, to say the least. But there's some good stuff in there. Mr. Sunday did a video about it recently where I was like, maybe I should watch that again. I haven't watched it since it came out because it was just a mess, if you ask me. But
okay, so now we're way off topic. Let's get to Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Talking about better stuff.
Well, I also think that that's all part of it. They try to build on the lore that already exists and fill in the gaps. But ultimately, I think they ended up spending too much time on things that are more or less irrelevant, like the Inquisitors as a concept. I really like the idea of them being kind of like the like the Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor being kind of like a Hans Landa fucking Jedi hunter. Like that guy did a good job despite looking kind of shitty, if you ask me. I don't get caught up on that kind of stuff. But,
what didn't you like? You're talking about.
He's got a big fat head. His head is too fat.
Like, I love that. I love that.
Hold on. You've seen the guy in Revenge of the Sith. When Obi-Wan goes down, lands on the planet, and the guy meets him, and he's wearing the big corduroy collar, and he's got this. That's what he should have looked like. He should have looked like a big corduroy man with a very, very cone head style. I don't know.
Okay,
getting caught up.
That's nitpicky. Come on.
Agree.
It's not like you, Mark.
I agree. That's nitpicky.
It's not like you.
But it's so easy because I don't usually get caught up on that stuff. But it's like you already have a baseline for it. Why mess with it? Like I don't know. It bugged me. I get that, like, in the show, the original appearance of the Inquisitor, he doesn't have the lines going all the way down his face. Whatever. That's nitpicky. I agree.
I'm surprised, actually. You typically don't go that hard.
He's good as an actor. He does a good job. I get a very strong, Nazi SS vibe from him, which is what you should get from the Inquisitors. And I liked... a lot of people bitched about Moses Ingram as Reva, the lead Inquisitor chick.
No comment.
Fair enough. But overall, I think the first couple of episodes have a couple of good, really great things in it. Like, I really enjoyed the mundane aspect of Obi-Wan, day in, day out, going to work, riding his EOB, dealing with his asshole boss. I was like, yeah, that's pretty That's what I kind of expected for him living in the desert for 10 years. That sounds... I've lived in the desert for 10 years. It's pretty fucking miserable.
Had to work for some slave drivers. Yep.
Yeah, and the idea that he's going through the whole PTSD thing, and you know, he can't, even though he wants to help out, he wants to, you know, protect people and stand up for people, like he can't, and I think they portrayed that very well. And what was it, Owen Lars, what's Edgerton, whatever his name is, he's great as Owen Lars, and I get that dynamic between them. You know, he's trying to protect his nephew and all that stuff. He does a great job.
That guy did a great job.
Yeah.
I was really, really satisfied with his performance. Very satisfied with the writing as far as his character as well.
Yeah.
Very well done. Very realistic. You know, he didn't sell out. No. And I was just, and like, it was something almost expected, whereas like, how far off script are they going to go with this? Because they really were shooting some, like you said, drawing from so many different aspects of Star Wars, so many like comics, cartoons.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's just, what direction are they going to go? And I'm really satisfied that they stuck true with him at least.
Yes, and I feel that overall the character work is really good. Like, that's, a lot of people are mad that Obi-Wan wasn't like immediately all doing the fucking the pose and saying hello there and being all happy-go-lucky.
No, he should be a broken Jedi.
That's
he should
what
be a broken Jedi.
I like all that.
Me
like
too.
they handled that a lot better than they did with Luke Skywalker, and I really enjoyed that quite a bit. I thought the characterizations of everybody were really good. Hayden Christensen being in the suit, it struck a good balance between Anakin Skywalker and the Darth Vader that you see eventually in A New Hope, Rogue One and A New Hope. Mm-hmm. Definitely more Rogue One.
So it was Ingram, right?
Moses Ingram as the, and I
her character was so out of control.
Yeah,
it was so bad, and it was so inconsistent. It was so inconsistent.
Well, I think
there's no exception.
They were trying for like a Game of Thrones kind of thing.
What were they doing with that?
And I think that was a swing and a miss.
Oh,
honestly.
man.
Like,
I like that. Good swing and a miss there.
I mean, I like.
I don't think her performance was bad. I don't have a problem with her.
Everybody did good acting.
Yes,
it's the writing, the pacing, and the plotting that is the problem with this. Because, again, like I liked a lot of the stuff.
The pacing was off.
They spent too much time. As much as I didn't mind the character. I thought the parts of her story that were good were really, really good. However, it's pretty obvious where it's going from the very start. Like, especially considering that it's Star Wars, and you kind of expect the villain to become a hero at the end, and maybe the hero is tempted to the dark side. It's like it was pretty obvious where it was going, especially since they literally open with a bunch of younglings getting murdered at the beginning, which I guess that's a spoiler, but if you're watching,
it didn't bother me.
But it was like, clearly this is the little girl, and they reveal it at like episode 5,
and you're like, wow, big reveal,
shocking. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no one saw it coming. Yes, that was something, the original Star Wars series, being a fan of, the original series, did actually have real spoilers where you didn't see everything coming. People gasping for air when Vader was Luke's father, for example, in the theater. I mean, nobody saw that coming. Well, and now you just see every trope getting replayed, and it makes an imbalance in characters where she was like the tide of the ocean. So and that's not her fault. It has nothing to do with her quality.
It's a problem with the very premise of the show, which is like, we know. And it's one of the problems I had with the prequels in general, is like, yeah, I mean, there's some really awesome stuff in here, some excellent lightsaber duels, some interesting philosophical concepts being presented, but at the end of the day, I know what's going to happen at the end of the day. I know that Obi-Wan's going to dismember Anakin and leave him roasting over some kind of fire pit, and I know that at the end of this show, it's going to be back to the status quo. Like, it has to, if they don't want to break canon. And a lot of people were waiting for them to break canon, but they didn't. They did a really good job.
I wanted it to break canon at the end.
Well, yeah.
But the parts where... Nah, we're not going to I don't want to waste my time complaining. I will say that the end was very much alternate universe Vader and Obi-Wan, where he wasn't so not sure anymore. He's not sure, but he was very sure, and he was able to do things that to Vader that just didn't. It did not line up with the power of Vader.
I did.
They went way too hard on that. Obi-Wan's not.
It was very
that much more powerful.
Service-y. Like, everybody wanted Ewan McGregor to have like an awesome comeback, and like, again, I like the development of him going from like being totally cut off from the Force to being as much of a badass as he was in the original or in the prequels.
I gotta say, I was really afraid they were gonna play his couldn't use the Force thing too hard. You know, when all of a sudden he was like, "Oh, I just can't use the Force." It's like, that's absolutely not how a Jedi's ever worked before. Yeah. Oh, you got a little hurt, so you can't use the Force anymore? I was not into that kick, and I was afraid they were going to overplay it. And luckily, it went back to normal very quickly, as if it didn't even happen.
Well,
like
I think
10 minutes later. So that was a real inconsistent play as well.
Yeah.
And that I had a real problem with. I'm just gonna. That's kind of in the same line with the episode that I had the most problem with, which is the escape scene from the headquarters there.
Yeah.
That was despicable. How did you describe it again?
Oh, it was. Well, it was like a Saturday morning cartoon. It was like the Muppets. You know, like a bunch of Muppets in a trench coat.
It was the little rascals. It was the little rascals. They're just like, "Oh, I just got him in my trench coat here, and no one notices." Oh, it was horrible. That escape scene was so bad. And
I mean, like, and again, I'm not.
The stormtroopers were a little better, but they were so. I
didn't hate that episode. Like, I liked, you know,
aspects of that episode were great.
Like when he finally draws his lightsaber and starts deflecting blaster bolts, I was like, fuck yeah. And there were a lot of fuck yeah moments in this that I really appreciated. But at the same time, I definitely feel like the reason that the pacing and the characterization is so uneven in this is because they stretched out what is essentially a 2 hour to 2.5 hour movie into 6 episodes, which is the problem with a lot of the Disney Plus content that comes out, like basically all of it, even the stuff that I really like The Mandalorian or Loki. Like,
Loki's phenomenal. I literally
that's pretty strong.
That's probably the strongest show they've had yet, next to The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
those two are good, as you said, 90% of the time.
But even those get a little saggy in the middle because they're coming up with a bunch of fetch quests and roadblocks to stop them from getting to the ultimate goal, which is, you know, he's got to fight Darth Vader. And that's why I have more of a problem with this than I do with most of the other Disney stuff, is that it's a simple premise that would work really well as a movie. And I know that this originally was intended to be a movie back when Disney bought it. They immediately announced like Rogue One and a Kenobi series. And what was the other one? Oh, well, yeah, obviously the three
Boba
that
Fett.
shall not be named. No,
they did
the actual
Boba Fett off the bat.
But that eventually evolved into the Mandalorian,
right?
Which
was a better call, I feel like.
The original announcement, I think, was for a new trilogy, which was the sequel trilogy, which, you know, we could do fucking several hours on that. An Obi-Wan show.
There's not enough cinema sins.
Dude,
there's not enough.
I don't know, man. Rise of Skywalker, I don't get too bent out of shape about stuff, and honestly, I kind of gave up on the prequels. On the sequels.
I was going to say the prequels shine so much brighter because of what they did with the
sequels. They really made me appreciate it.
You're like, wow, these were actually good.
At any rate, it does suffer from Disney series syndrome, which is like they threw too much bullshit into what is essentially a straightforward story about a meeting between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader, and it's a waste because you got them both back, and they're both great in this. When you actually see Hayden Christensen and when he's in the suit, like, you buy it, and we'll get to that last episode, which again I agree is probably the strongest point in the whole series. It's a waste because you spend so much time with these side characters, and it kind of, I don't know, it's a detriment to the main plot, if you ask me.
Right.
So now
the last episode, or
now we're gonna get into spoilers.
Okay.
Grogu here is a fine example of pandering. As much as I love Grogu, he's a good boy, and awesome and adorable. This show has the same problem that all other modern Star Wars has, which is they're appealing to mine and his demographic, which are middle-aged men with kids. And you put a kid in there, you put an adorable little baby, or a 10-year-old girl, or Citizen Snips, fucking Ahsoka Tano, in there, and that's going to appeal to the little kids, and it's going to make it easier for guys like us to watch it with our children. And I think the inclusion of Princess Leia as more or less the entire plot was not the best move. You know, like, they didn't... That's not what anybody wanted to see.
No.
I don't think.
She did a good job.
She was great. I
Yeah.
loved it. Like, I loved her as a character. It was nice to see Princess Leia, and I think the little girl who was playing her fucking nailed it. And there's some very good emotional stuff in there.
They leaned on her too much, though.
But it didn't... It was like... It shouldn't... And it's one of those things where it's like, typically, I wouldn't mind it, considering that she actually does a good job, unlike little baby Anakin. She's actually a good actor. I just feel like, again, she's a human MacGuffin. Like, the fetch quest, bad motivation that's unnecessary, and just give me the Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader stuff. You could have very easily pulled off having him on the run from the Empire. Like, he gets word that I'm not gonna fucking rewrite this show. I'm not gonna do that. Sorry. They spend too much time on the side characters. What I wanted to see was the dynamic between Obi-Wan and the Inquisitors, Obi-Wan and Darth Vader by proxy through the Inquisitors, because it's established that the Inquisitors do all the dirty work, and Darth Vader is behind the scenes, steering them in the right direction. And I think it could have been really good if they had just cut out a lot of the bullshit. What else? Flea didn't need to be there. That was distracting.
I enjoyed that. As soon as I saw him, I was like, yeah, he was even in Back to the Future.
Yeah,
I mean, you gotta love that.
Well, in Back to the Future, it's not that distracting.
No,
because he's age appropriate and he fits into that universe pretty well. At any rate, and probably a lot of people didn't even get that. I know
at the time it was really under the.
Yeah, I mean, even now, like, people know the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but they don't necessarily know the Flea. But I was also into punk rock, so it's like, Fear. This is a great band, great guitar, great bassist, At any rate, they threw a lot of fan service and pandering, and it's got the Disney syndrome where I'm sure that Deborah Chow had a great version of it initially, and then Disney came in and was like, yeah, well, can we throw in some scenes with baby Leia and maybe set up this Resistance show that we got coming up, and maybe
right.
There's just a bunch of extraneous shit in this that didn't really need to be there. And I'm actually excited for the Rise of the Empire fan edit version of this, where it's mostly just about Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. I think that's the thing that bugs me the most, is like, not that I was ever terribly caught up in the whole what happened between Obi-Wan. Like, they could have not, that's the thing, is I feel like they could have not made this show at all. And my understanding of the relationship between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan would pretty much be the same.
I mean, Darth Vader got way too wrecked at the end by Obi-Wan. That was out of control. It went too far.
I think we'll just jump into that finale, because that's... Wait, what the fuck?
What happened?
Hold on.
Yeah, Vader got way too wrecked.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Pause.
Yeah. We'll take a break.
I didn't want to get away, so I was like, I'm gonna grab it. I'm gonna wait. I enjoy the show, so.
What was that? Were we recording?
Yeah. So I think for this, just do the stuff we really liked and whatever minor complaints that we have. Because at this point, my complaints are pretty minor. Like, I really didn't... I had some very Lord of the Rings related complaints about this last episode. But
What, too many endings?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's
that,
wrong.
that was... Oh. It's white. Like, I was watching it... Oh, man. Can you get me some ice?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's fine. Careful with the headphones, are gonna fall off. Because when I was like recording B-roll for this last night, I basically like skipped through the whole series, and I realized that like the Vader versus Obi-Wan fight is over like halfway through the episode.
Yeah,
and I realized
there's
the
like
whole
30
rest
minutes
of it
left.
was like 30 minutes of alternate endings. Like,
Yeah. Although, my favorite part is the very end.
Yes. My favorite meme so far is that they substitute Qui-Gon for the behind the scenes photo of Liam Neeson, where he's got his sunglasses on and he's got the fucking bandana and he's got his umbrella. I was like, that's what I would be doing if I was a fucking Force Ghost too. Like, oh, you know what's nice is I didn't stop recording on the microphone, so we're gonna be able to use that. All right. Rolling.
Indeed. Got my non-alcoholic ginger beer here.
Oh, I hate that.
I hate that stuff.
Okay, so
Welcome
the
back.
finale. Man, I just realized, like, have you watched the Kenobi series yet?
Dude, I watched everything from Clone Wars, from the original to Star Wars, The Clone Wars, everything.
I just thought, like, oh man, I hope we're not totally spoiling this show for this guy.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Well, good. I feel better about this now. It just occurred to me that we're not ruining it for you. Nice. Okay, so we're just going to talk about the finale now. And it's definitely the strongest episode in the whole series. And let's talk about the things that we liked first.
Okay, so
Wait, no, maybe
Obi-Wan fought Darth Vader.
Yes, which
Okay.
is what we all wanted to see.
That's what
That
we-
was what we came here for.
Yeah, and it was strange they did that first fight with him. It was so inconsistent.
Well, I kind of get that. Is like you want to establish that he's not as powerful, and it's part of like the hero's journey. You know, he resists the call, and then he's defeated, and then he finds the courage, and he comes back and wins in the end.
Those tropes again.
Yeah, well, it's an effective formula. They've been doing it for 1,000 years, so I get that. However,
way longer than that.
there is
way
no,
longer
yeah,
than
yeah,
that.
thousands of years,
Thousands
all
of
of the years ever. Yeah, and I think that the acting in this episode is some of the best in the whole show, like all around.
I think it's Hayden Christensen's best acting in his career.
Probably. Poor guy didn't really get a chance, though. I mean, I think he does a good job in Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, we forgot to talk about the de-aging thing. Why the fuck did they not de-age Hayden Christensen? He looks 40 years old, and he's supposed to be 19 in that flashback scene. Like, it was distracting to me. It was, because it's like they do that. They throw de-aging technology at all kinds of shit
When it's not necessary.
When it's not necessary.
In this case, they could have used it.
And it very easily, and it's again, like, the scene still works for me. I was able to get over it. It was just like confusing to me. Like when you do that all the time. You literally did an entire CGI Luke in the last season of Boba Fett.
That was wonderful.
And it was good. It looked good. It was very convincing as opposed to the first time he showed up in that series. Or in The Mandalorian.
That last episode of The Mandalorian?
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
It was still awesome, don't get me wrong.
When they revealed Luke, I was set. Alright, that made the whole series.
But that's like they basically created an entire CGI character for that one episode, and they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to do a deep fake face and voice for Luke Skywalker in Boba Fett. Like, all you gotta do is a little bit of de-aging. You guys got that on lockdown. Why did they not do that to both Obi-Wan and Hayden Christensen in that scene? Especially since they're flashbacks and they're so short. Like, they take up a lot of room in my mind when I think about them, but, like, rewatching this to get B-roll, I was like, oh wow, this is, like, these scenes, these flashbacks are only like 30 seconds, and their faces aren't even on screen because they do a lot of flipping and turning in it. It was like a little obnoxious to me.
Back-to-back stuff, yeah.
The back-to-back, I thought the lightsaber dueling in this was a little off, although, you can't really have much expectation because A, Obi-Wan's going to be a little rusty, and B, Anakin is Darth Vader now, and, considering the canon version of their final duel, it's like, yeah, I guess this is kind of like right in the middle there. Anyway, getting past that and the nitpicking, I really enjoyed the final showdown between Vader and Kenobi. I think it was slightly over the top with the whole levitating huge masses of matter and rocks is definitely more of a Yoda thing to me. Like, Obi-Wan never struck me as somebody who is a sorcerer. He's supposed to be like the balance between the warrior, which is Anakin. He's really great at the combat and the lightsaber dueling, and Yoda, who is basically like, I hated that they even gave him a lightsaber in the prequels. I was like, that's not how Yoda works to me. And Obi-Wan is supposed to be like right in the middle. He's supposed to be a balance between a warrior and a wizard.
I don't know if you were familiar with the pre-existing Yoda character with his lightsaber prior to the prequel movies, because when he used a lightsaber and fought in lightsaber battles, he used the Force to actually control the lightsaber. He never actually gripped the lightsaber with his hands.
That's neat.
So that's what everyone was expecting to see, because anyone who was familiar with Star Wars novels and things like that prior to the prequels coming out, when we knew that Yoda was going to be showing up and fighting, we did expect to see him use a lightsaber but not actually grasp it. And that was cut very short.
Because I didn't read a lot of, like, I was young enough that I didn't really have access to a lot of the comic book lore. I'd read some of the novels and stuff, but they were all
the whole flipping with Yoda with the lightsaber.
I was like, that was too much. Even as somebody who was like a kid,
I was like 16 when that came out, and I was like, this is garbage.
I was 13. I was like 13, which is like that's who they were appealing to the most, is the kids who want to see just fucking lightsabers smashing, and like there was a lot of really good lightsaber work in the prequels. Mm-hmm. That was one where I was even as a kid, I was like, that doesn't. Everything right up until then, I was like on board for, even though Christopher Lee is like a 180-year-old man besting two guys in their prime, I was like, it's Dracula, like I buy that.
Sure, that's okay.
But then Yoda comes out of nowhere and
throws his cane. All of a sudden, he can do like.
That didn't make any sense to me.
It was terrible.
At any rate,
that was a swing and a miss, as you like to say.
I think the lightsaber battling made a lot of sense as far as the choreography is concerned. I will complain slightly about the cinematography because, actually, you know what? I'm not going to complain too much. I think they should have just spent a little more time in wides.
I'm sorry, but there's no way that Obi-Wan should have smashed Vader so hard with the lightsaber battle.
Well, yeah.
I mean, he pulverized.
I do think that he should have been on the back foot the whole time. Like, that's the whole point.
When he was hitting Vader in the chest, that was so over the top and so far from.
I mean, the stormtroopers put up more of a fight than Darth Vader did. That episode where they're escaping. I was like, man, these troopers might actually take him.
They still can't shoot, but
there's enough of them.
And when he was running around with a blaster. That was trash.
No, I actually I kind of again, because I like the concept of like he's in hiding, he's trying not to reveal himself, and it's like that whole World War II Nazis and Jews thing. It's like you don't want to give away that you're a Jedi, so you don't use the lightsaber. Like that that whole part of it, like I appreciated.
Okay.
And it explains why he would not be.
Who was the Jedi? Who was the Jedi from Outcast that started with the blaster and ended up? Becoming
Kyle Katarn, literally one of my favorite characters in all of Legends, and I'm really hoping that now that they're starting to do Jedi stuff in the Star Wars shows, like I would love to see like either a Kyle Katarn or a Cal Kestis show. That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact,
even a Dash Rendar.
If they do a second season, even a Dash Rendar, especially a Dash Rendar, like
he's just
I kind of want him to show up in the Andor show. Like that'll be cool if they.
His ship is Boss.
I love it.
He's very much the knockoff of the Han Solo.
He's dollar store Han Solo. he's Wish Han Solo.
But he's Force sensitive though, so he's got a little bit more.
It's not quite a Jedi, but he's got the Force,
and he's still kind of a runner like Solo is. He's kind of an outcast. He's great.
I should have brought my gun. I like that this leaves a lot of stuff open. Like it kind of closed the door on a lot of things. There's stuff where it's like, okay, well. That character is probably never going to appear, but maybe we get some Kyle Katarn or something in the second season, because that's where he fits. Is like, I'm actually interested. I didn't actually want.
They
this
better
to
cast him like a boss. That guy better be a great actor.
Oh man,
they cannot drop the ball on that.
Let's not get into fan casting right now. There's time. There's
still, you have an idea. You have an idea. Don't say it. I know what you're thinking.
At any rate,
who's getting cast as everything right now? Because that's who it'll be. Who is it that's currently being cast as everything? I mean, it's not Gerard Butler right now.
No, it's
so that's not
Tom
going to be
Hardy. They want to.
Yes,
they
there it is.
Hardy
it's going to be
everything.
Tom Hardy. Yeah,
I cannot believe that he's still in the running for Wolverine. Like he's almost 50 years old. Like you can't.
Isn't he Venom?
Yeah, exactly. And they're still trying to make him
Wolverine. Keep Hugh Jackman. Just use the CG and make him buff again and pay him whatever he wants.
Well, the thing that confuses me is nobody's fan casting like the obvious guy, which is, and this is definitely off topic. Maybe I'll save this little clip for later. But
don't say Radcliffe. Don't say Radcliffe.
No. That's another one where I'm like, what the fuck are you people thinking? You want Harry Potter to be Wolverine? They're like exact opposites. Not that he's not a good actor, but
Radcliffe's incredible.
He's a great actor.
Proven that he can break the mold
even
on the Harry Potter character.
That Sandra Bullock movie with
I didn't see it.
Channing Tatum. I watched that and I was like, oh, he's hilarious in this movie.
Great.
Like, Clint Eastwood's son, Scott Eastwood. Clint Eastwood was the literal basis for Wolverine.
That's right.
And he's exactly age appropriate. He's in his early 30s, which means he can play the character for another 15 or 20 years like Jackman did. He looks like him. He's the appropriate height. And like nobody's even looking at him. It blows my mind. Fucking
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. The big fucking giant nose. Like,
I love Tom Hardy.
He's great. He's a great actor.
He's one of my favorites. Not the best Bane.
Even that, I was like, it's like scary and imposing, and that's fine. And Great Mad Max, which I had my doubts about.
That was phenomenal.
Was it Bronson, whatever the one where he plays the British prisoner with the twirly mustache? It's absolutely terrifying in that movie. Great actor, just not fucking Wolverine. And also, he's already Venom. Yes. I know it's a multiverse now, but anyway.
Yeah, they did enough with Chris Evans already.
Yeah.
And not only him, I mean, you got Ryan Reynolds, who played in Blade Trinity. He was in Fantastic Four as the Human Torch.
No, that was Chris Evans.
Oh, right.
He was Green Lantern.
Oh, right.
Literally the worst movie ever made. At any rate.
Whoa. We're going to get into the worst movies ever made?
Literally, it's really, really
We're
bad.
already talking about Star Wars. They've got 3 of the worst movies ever made, so...
Okay, so take a quick cut. Pretend cut. Obi-Wan. Overall thoughts.
Watchable.
I did not hate it. I didn't love it as much as I really wanted to. And I feel like that's a lot of people's outlook on it, is like, yeah, it's not terrible. It's better than Boba Fett was, but it's significantly worse than... Boba Fett was pretty bad. I really like...
But it rapped so good.
Did it though? Like I really
Mandalorian came in to save the day.
Okay, well that
It became
again,
Mandalorian.
like, I don't even count
as soon
that.
as the
Yeah,
show
like,
became the Mandalorian next season. That
that's
was
the
yeah. Show was so much better.
when it turned back into what it was probably originally planned to be, which was just part of the third season of Mandalorian. Then
It got really
it
good.
was better. Yeah,
It's quality.
I think the Boba Fett show was like, oh, we wanted to have more Boba Fett in the Mandalorian, but we couldn't really fit it in. So let's just cut the Mandalorian into Boba Fett, and that made it a lot better.
Right. He saved the show.
So I think it's better than that, but there's a lot of fat that they could have cut, and it's pretty saggy in the middle. Overall, I like how it ended, but it also lacked focus.
I mean, good Jedi technique, I guess.
There was some good Jedi shit in there. I liked the lightsaber duels. I always geek out about fucking good lightsaber duels.
It suffered from the same problem that some of the new trilogy had, though. You know, as far as the escape scene, it's kind of the same situation where, you know, you were that sequence in, I don't even remember which one. I'm trying to block it from my memory, but
probably Rise of Skywalker.
I can't forget.
Or no,
it was the second one when they're, you know, when
Last Jedi.
they're surrounded
And
by
that's-
1,000 stormtroopers. Phasma's there,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden 1,000 stormtroopers just drop dead and they escape.
That's what
that was the worst sequence ever made.
That's
in
the
a film.
closest
Like,
comparison I can make is The Last Jedi, because that was one where I really liked a lot of the concepts and premises presented in that movie. Like, again, I think this did it better than Last Jedi with the, you know, the retired it's very samurai, very Kurosawa, you know, old gunslinger, doesn't want to go back into the fight and, like, is disillusioned with, you know, the Jedi Order. And, you know, like, I think they really did Luke Skywalker a disservice in that movie, in The Last Jedi. And they did a little bit better in this one, but again, it's a lot of the same problems. Like, they kind of did The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker in one show in more time, in that they kind of go back on a lot of stuff. Like, they retcon a bunch of shit. At any rate, I think there were some really great beats in the finale. I think okay, so it's a compliment sandwich. So I'm gonna say one nice thing, and I'm gonna say a mean thing, and then I'm gonna say a nice thing again. So the part where Obi-Wan Kenobi slices open Darth Vader's mask, and they have a little heart-to-heart real quick. I thought that was awesomely staged. Again, I think that whole fight was pretty decent. I wouldn't have cut away from it as much as they did, but I think it was pretty good.
Oh man, that was horrible. Stop cutting away.
Then
not everything has to be Game of Thrones.
That's part one. That's the nice thing, number one. Bad thing, they literally did that exact same scene in Rebels. Like, it was basically all they did was switch the side of the mask that Darth Vader got cut on, and that's a little derivative. Okay, but the top of the sandwich is, like, there's some amazing acting going on in there. Like you said,
Hayden
Christensen does
best work.
his best work in like the entire series, and probably his whole career. And Ewan McGregor, when he actually has to look at his friend and what he has done to him, and he immediately, like, starts tearing up and breaking down, I was like, yeah, that's exactly how I would expect that to go down. Like it's fucking tragic. It's Shakespearean, and I thought that was really
that
great.
was nailed. I mean,
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor, it was pretty easy.
And even the dialogue was really great.
The dialogue was good in that part, and exceptionally well done. So, all right, my sandwich. Okay, so you have the cutaways were terrible. There's no reason for that much cutaway, especially when you're doing a lightsaber battle.
And especially when you know that Luke Skywalker is gonna survive. Like,
I mean, yeah.
I like that Owen and Beru were such badasses. That was cool. That was neat. Like,
yeah, Uncle Owen.
he shows up and Beru is just like, "We're getting the guns. Let's fucking move."
That was good stuff. That was good stuff. So yeah, there's no reason to cut away to something that you know how it's going to end, especially from a lightsaber battle between what we've been waiting to see in this show the whole time. So there's the good. The bad part, of course, Vader got wrecked by Obi so easily. The way that he was beaten up is. I don't even know what they call that on his costume, like
and it's
whatever
like
the circuit
his control panel. It's why wouldn't he just flip the lightsaber around and
just wreck Obi-Wan?
Yeah, just like stab him in the throat, in the chest a bunch of times.
Especially since he'd wrecked Obi-Wan so many times in the past. There was no reason that he wouldn't have gotten better at that point as well. So that part was ridiculous. But then, of course, the best part of the entire series to me is the reveal at the very, very end of the show, where you get the shot of Liam Neeson as the Force Ghost, back as Qui-Gon, which was my favorite character from all the prequel series.
I think he made a shitload of money just for that.
I hope
just
so.
for signing on.
I hope they paid him so many zeros on that check that it just cashed and he never has to work again.
He earned it because he got fucked in the original trilogy.
Yeah, so bad. He should have disappeared, of course, in the original trilogy, just as Obi-Wan did. I should say he should have disappeared in the end of the first episode of the prequel series, just as Obi-Wan did when he was slashed by Vader.
There are parallels there. It's as Mr. Lucas likes to say, it's like poetry. It rhymes, and I just think that.
So the best part of the series. Entire part of the series was just seeing the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn, which is disappointing to me because I just wanted to see a more realistic saber battle between Vader and Obi-Wan, and seeing Obi-Wan take out Vader so easily that's too much, just too far.
Of the 10 endings,
I think that somebody should
have
have shown up to help Obi-Wan. Perhaps even another Jedi or youngling that had to die by Vader's saber so that he could save Obi-Wan.
Have Reva come in after, just cut away from her at the end of the previous episode and think like, you think the whole episode that, she must have just died there. But then she shows up at the end. That's
actually what I was expecting. Yeah, that was but no, then she went after, her character was so inconsistent of going back and forth between good and bad. It literally didn't line up at all with reality, for one thing, with Star Wars tropes for another, with any type of the hero,
the hero's journey.
The hero's journey. There was no
Obi-Wan's hero's journey in the show works. Reva's doesn't really work.
It's so inconsistent. It's like the current in the ocean. So that is the worst part of the show. The best part of the show is the saber battle between Vader and their acting at that point, like you said, Obi-Wan breaking down, and then followed by the Lord of the Rings ending where it had 6 endings in the last 30 minutes, and just all alternate endings or something like that were really insignificant.
I realized when I was getting B-roll for this that the actual lightsaber duel is over almost halfway through the show, and the rest of the episode is just devoted to Obi-Wan running around and saying his goodbyes, and even the good one,
and the actual climax of the film, which is not a saber battle, which is
it's just Qui-Gon. So it's like, now it all makes sense. They rounded it out pretty well. I will say that they tied up all their loose ends, and that's a lot more than I can say for most prequel material. Not just Star Wars, but all prequels. Like it was pretty airtight. They really made sure that they left no stone overturned. If that makes sense.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna be about it. And
we loved it. Well, we didn't love it.
I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it.
I rewatched parts of it already, but I'm not sure how much I'll rewatch it again. It doesn't have the rewatchability.
I think there are only like 2 episodes that are like like I've rewatched Loki twice.
Same.
Since it came out, because again, I think that's one of the strongest Disney Plus shows.
Absolutely, up there with The Mandalorian.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I've rewatched Mandalorian with the kiddo a couple of times.
Quality.
This one is like, I'm gonna rewatch it with my daughter probably.
We'll rewatch the cut when the cut comes out.
Yeah, there you go. Or I'll just pick the episodes that are the best.
The 2?
The 2.5 episodes.
Yeah, 2.5 episodes. No more escape scenes, please, Disney.
Just stop.
Get someone else to do that for you, because you're not landing that real hard. You're making it so unrealistic and so unviable. It's not exactly Escape from Alcatraz.
You gotta let go of the formula. Like, not everything has to be A New Hope. You know, like, you're kind of missing the point. The best one is Empire. Do more Empire stuff. That's why
Vader storms in and just destroys everybody.
Well, that's why, like, arguably, The Last Jedi, despite my huge problems with that movie, is still the best of the sequels. Like, it's got a lot of really interesting stuff that they totally give up on halfway through and then totally ignore in the third one. Like, do something new. Stop with the rehashes. And that's it. Anyway, thank you for watching. What's next? Thor. Thor is next month?
Stranger Things?
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to... When's Stranger Things come
1st of July.
1st of July. We're going to do a Stranger Things Season 4 breakdown and review.
I think that's personally my favorite show.
It's really good.
I think it's my favorite show.
It's a really sad parallel between like what a show could be as far as like plotting and character development and what this was, which was like kind of, okay, I'll take it, I guess. Whereas Stranger Things so far, I'm like, oh man, Jesus. Give me more. I want to know more.
Disney, it's disgusting.
It's sad, yeah. Especially considering the budgets. Like,
not only the budgets,
each one of those episodes cost $20 million.
What about the lore? Well, I mean, I saw what they did with set building. I think half the budget was set building.
Well, they use the volume. They use the volume for half, and that's another problem that I had with this. That I'll probably cut this into earlier in the video, but like, they have the volume, which is that big LED setup. So you really only need to build the first part of the set, if that. And they won't even do that. Like, there's so much of this show that, like, just looks cheap. Like, Riley walked in while I was watching it, and he was like, why does this look so bad? This doesn't look like Star Wars. And I was like, yeah, it's not as great.
The only one that did was Rebel One.
Rogue One, and that was before they developed that.
But it's at the end of the series. You know, when they go down to the planet, it actually looked like Star Wars.
Oh yeah, I thought Rogue.
Rogue One was so like you could knock on the backgrounds.
It's
the
strongest of all of the Disney Star Wars stuff. Like
post prequel.
Okay, so let's try to close it out again. Thanks for watching.
Real pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Hopefully the next season is better. I know they're going on with Obi-Wan, but they said it's going to be an alternate story. That it's not even going to...
Well, they used up all of the possible characters that he could interact with.
No, they didn't.
All the mainline characters.
Nah, they're going to bring back Mace Windu and everything. You watch. Oh, yeah. We'll see Samuel L. Jackson.
I hope not.
We'll see. Oh, I hope so.
He couldn't have died. Where he is.
All he did was fall. He could have grabbed any speeder. You saw how they could grab a speeder in that series? They could be going 100 miles an hour.
That blew Emmy's mind, too. Like, that scene in Attack of the Clones, she was like, what is he doing, Dad? And I was like, don't worry. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, he's alive. I'm confident. He'll come back. Yeah, I don't know if you saw this statement from Samuel L. Jackson on Twitter. He said, I would rather come back as Mace Windu than do any other movie again.
I really like his outlook on making movies. Is like he's not a trophy chaser. He's just like I would much rather prefer to be swinging a lightsaber around or, you know, shooting bad guys than doing some depressing prestige movie.
And it was
I
only
respect
recently that I saw the thing where he's talking to George Lucas during the prequel, and he requests the purple.
Oh yeah,
lightsaber.
I just popped up on my feed too.
I shared that for sure. I was like, I've never seen that before. It was about 6 months ago when I first saw that, and I shared that immediately.
I love that.
And you see him, and he's like, "So can't I have a purple lightsaber?" And he's like, George Lucas is
like,
yeah,
maybe you can.
I think we could do that.
And
like,
I love.
I was just
I
like,
love
what?
the smile that he gets.
Yes.
He gets on his face. He's like, yeah, that's us.
I know, but George Lucas was just stoic.
Yeah,
he's like, I think
it
we
was
can
like
do
it
that.
never even occurred to
Yeah,
him
and
before.
yeah. He's like, you know what? I
And
like
then
that idea.
in the movie, you got not only purple lightsabers but yellow lightsabers. Attic Monday.
It's been a pleasure.
But yeah, we're gonna close out.
That's
you
our
guys
time.
have a good one, and
Lots of love.
we'll see you next time.
Hello. Yes. No, we are opening immediately. I'm sorry. I've been stuck in a